How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to another Pirate101 video. Today I am here with special guest HJJ. I'm also here with Storm and Zayfa today.
Hi.
This is like, yo, the awkward silence.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. It's already awkward enough.
I want to interrupt.
No, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks. But yeah, today I am going to teach all these three the ways of Pirate101. So what we have here, we got, I believe, the Buccaneer and Daniel, which will be HJJ. We got Ellie as in Storm. Actually, never mind. That's Zayfa, my bad. Witch Doctor. And then we also finally have Storm with Nicole as the Privateer class. Musketeer is a long-distance class that excels in crowd control. Their powers tend to include traps which will force enemies to move a certain direction. Privateers are far from just healers. They have a wide variety of support abilities that will either raise stats of allies or can give them some extra defenses. Witch Doctor is another long-distance class which has some infinite powers. One thing about Witch Doctor that is unique is that they have a wide variety selection when it comes towards being able to reduce spell power. Spell power which will affect things such as magic-based damage or heals. Buccaneers are known as the Chain Masters. This class can potentially do more damage than a Swashbuckler. While it takes some time and investment to get a Buccaneer to potentially do more damage than a Swashbuckler, their outright strength comes from their mobility and endurance. Before we get started, guys, one thing that you should know is that if you go to the options tab, for some reason, Pirate kind of keeps like the default settings on every character, no matter if you have like a new account or like an already existing account for an existing character. So there are two things that you may want to do. If you go to your gameplay tabs, like the second one, like the second controller, one thing you want to turn off, you don't want automate companions. The main reason why is because a lot of things that happens with automate companions, your companions will love to run to anyone and just spam their powers, which is something that you may not want to do. So with that one, I would just probably put NAR. Restart task is fine whenever you get companion orders. And you also want to click fast combat as well. Unless you like the slow combat, you could just like select fast combat, because by default, fast combat's not enabled. But that's pretty much all that there is to it for the settings tab. But yeah, you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's go smack some troggies.
One thing to note is whenever you're in combat, if you're with someone else and you want to just kind of direct them where to go, you can just like right click and they'll show like the little square over here. This could be useful like in the case you want to tell, hey, I'm going over here, or I'm going to set something over there. But yeah, that's just one thing to note.
You can do that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool actually. It helps a lot of people.
The only problem is you can't
Spam it.
Once you ping, you have to wait for it to go away in order to ping.
Yeah, that's the only bad thing there. What you saw right there, Zayfa, was basically like the epic notice riposte. Whenever the ally dodges an enemy's attack that's melee based, they basically get a free attack, and it's like a added multiplier to it. And then sometimes companions will come with like powers known as like the epic strike. These will upgrade as you level up your companions. It's a guaranteed critical. Really just nice to have if you just want a guaranteed hit. Then what we have here is a good old group chest, which can give you doubloons and stuff that can help you throughout your journey. But you only get these like if you quest with someone else.
Yeah, I remember when I did play a little bit by myself, it was really sad to have to go find
Yeah!
the group chest.
It's rough, man. It's rough, but it's useful to have them. I would say like chances are you'll probably be able to like find people farming like big dungeons that is good gear for everyone, like Mu Manchu, which like that will be like end game. So like that's when you can get a bunch of really good ones. Another thing as well, if you didn't notice, you can actually skip the dialogue like extremely fast if you just hold the spacebar. Most people tend to skip the dialogue by spamming the spacebar, But in this game, you could just hold it and it just basically goes in sonic speed. Okay, since we happen to have Bonnie Ann here, this is actually a really good other tutorial. So she has 2 powers, one of them being Second Wind, which restores 25% of your HP. I believe it's based on the HP that's missing, not the max HP. And then the second power, Scatter Blast, is exactly what it says. It's an splash shot kind of power that reduces dodge on enemies for 5 turns. So it's really nice to use this if you just want to make sure that, you know, they don't dodge your melee attacker. Oh no, you got caught in. I got you. I'm here.
I couldn't get past them.
Do you happen to have like a Buccaneer power, like the Mighty Charge or whatever it's called, like Glancing Blow?
There is.
Yeah, so one key thing to know about that power is it gives, if you look at the card, there should be like a symbol that shows kind of like an arrow kind of jumping across something. What that means really is just that it gives you like a movement boost. So one of the things about Buccaneers is that they tend to have like the best mobility because of powers like that. It also usually tends to come, the charges tend to come with a Glancing Blow, which is a guaranteed extra hit.
So it's Mighty Charge.
Yeah, Mighty Charge, that's what it's called. Yeah, so it's a really, really good power to have. And Buccaneers, that's like their, you know, bread and butter. You'll be getting more of them as you progress through the story. And then that's your guaranteed hit from Glancing Blow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can't dodge those attacks. There are some attacks that enemies just can't dodge, and you can't dodge either. One of them is Glancing Blow, which is basically like a guaranteed hit. And the other ones that enemies can't dodge is like powers that happen to have, you know, damage utilities. So stuff like Epic Strike, Super Strike, stuff like that. Those you can't dodge, because it's guaranteed. So I don't really expect anyone to know this on their first playthrough, but if you were to hover around an enemy, it'll give you information as to your chances of being able to critical, and it'll also give you like a rundown as to the extra attributes the enemies have. So it's actually useful to take a look at that kind of stuff, because then you can kind of plan out accordingly. For example, these sharks have a thing called Cheap Shot, which all that is if you were to try to run away from those enemies, they get a chance to hit you. I believe it's not guaranteed. It's not a guaranteed hit, but it will trigger pretty much anytime you're moving away from their range.
I never thought to like even hover my like cursor over enemies, so like I had no clue.
I mean, like, I don't expect anyone to know about that in the first playthrough. Like, this is something like you'll like learn as you go. Like, this is a game where I always say, just learn as you go. If you don't understand everything, don't worry. Most people don't. It's just something that you'll learn eventually. So it's just stuff like that you have to keep aware of, so that you don't get into situations where you get taken damage for like unnecessary reasons.
Makes sense. Yeah, I can see that. Like at lower levels, you can kind of just brute force your way through without really needing to strategize.
Yeah.
It seems like, but definitely higher levels, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
You need to be aware of that.
Oh yeah. Valencia part 2 is the reason, like the last world of like Pirate101 is basically like the main reason as to why it's important. Because if you're a swashbuckler, your bread and butter being able to hide, you can't really do that anymore once you're in Valencia part 2. Because the moment you're going against other melee enemies, chances are they have access to like First Strike 3, which could remove your hide.
Oh yeah, one more to go.
Oh, you're right! I didn't even realize.
We're on it, we're pros.
We're already
Heck yeah.
there.
Y'all already learning. Nah, me, it's like I brute force it.
Like with a huge arrow blinking is like, touch this, please.
Yeah.
Do it now.
Yes. This Your first battle with a special win condition. You're not supposed to fight everyone. You're supposed to turn on the rocks. And the
I will
little
say
icon-
sometimes it does trick you though. Sometimes it's not often, but there are moments where it does trick you, where it's like, oh, do this, and they're like, okay, I'm done. What's next? Oh, now you have to fight everyone. It's like, wait, what? You told me to do this.
Always be mindful of the little banner up above because it will tell you if you need to do things.
So we just gotta
Okay.
beat the one dude.
Yep, but look at all the people around him. In situations like these, even though you happen to have a special win condition, you generally don't necessarily want to charge right away, since if you don't manage to kill them, then the issue would then be, how am I going to survive all of that? So usually, like in these situations, the less numbers you have to deal with, the better.
Well, I charged him.
Yeah, I mean, like, it happens. You can technically do that, but sometimes, like, in the later worlds, like, they will punish you for that. And also, if I remember correctly, I think they made it to where Finn resists quite a bit.
Yeah, looks like it. That wasn't. A
Yeah,
lot of damage.
it looks like he resists. But we're almost there.
He's already at half.
We just have to pray not to die. Oh, there you go, compo. Oh!
Yes.
Guaranteed hit right there. Technically.
Ah.
Here's some cool animations.
Oh, of course. Always. I will say one of the cooler things about Witch Doctor is that they're one of the very few classes that can get like a lot of like infinite range powers. So like that's cool. You know, that's like a fun part.
Like not having to move anywhere.
Yeah, basically you're just kind of there.
No, just
Having fun.
Across the way. We're cool.
Everyone dogpile on Finn.
I got it.
Beat the boy.
Oh, he does have that. So like Finn actually has another attribute known as Turn the Tide. Once they get to like around 50% health or lower, it will increase their damage and accuracy generally. So it's like another thing to keep in mind if you don't want to get bodied out of nowhere. Luckily, we have a full team, so I don't think that's ever gonna happen. But if you were soloing, it's just something to keep in mind. If you want to make sure you get the job done like right away. And try not to leave anything.
Haha.
Yeah, we got him. Do you guys happen to have a question like about like the attributes, like the strength, agility, will kind of thing?
Yeah, I have no idea what any of that means for our
So,
characters.
long story short, basically these are just like attributes that your pirates can have that will increase like the amount of damage you get. So every 5 points of each kind of type will give you like an extra damage bonus based on the kind of weapon type you have. Strength has a weapon type of a slashy smashy, which is typically used for buccaneers. Every 5 points of this will give you 1% extra damage, and it will also allow you to critical more. Agility is basically for classes like swashbucklers and musketeers. It's the same idea. And then the willpower will be for spooky staffy, but it also works for privateers as well, since they tend to be will based as well. Another thing as well is kind of like when you have the idea of like the Rochambeau wheel, it's kind of similar, except it's like just 3 things. Agility-based classes do really poorly against strength-based classes. So basically Buccaneers. Buccaneers are the only strength-based kind of class. Strength-based classes tend to do poorly against will-based classes. And then will-based classes do poorly against agility-based classes. So, not something that you'll know right away, but it's just something to keep in mind when you go against certain types of classes. And what I mean about doing poorly, I mean like the chances of you either getting criticaled on or chances of yourself being able to critical on them, kind of thing. But yeah, this is all based on like your weapon types. For now, my recommendation, just stick with like the weapon types that your class tends to give you like automatically, right? So like in my case, I have shooty weapons, so just stick with shooty weapons for now. They are hybrid builds, but I would only recommend doing that once you finally finish your first playthrough, so you don't make things too complicated for yourself. As for the talents, because they tend to get talents every now and then, I typically tend to go for like a glass cannon kind of build, and that's basically kind of what most people do. So generates like, you know, tough for like more health, rough for more damage, and you typically want to prioritize, you know, what they tend to excel in. So like, for example, musketeer type companions, you will want accurate more. Swashbuckler companions, you may want dodgy more. Some people tend to do like a mixture of both. But yeah, always, I would say biggest priority will be like stuff like tough and rough. That's like usually like the first go-tos for when you give them new talents. Are you guys gonna, is it cool like if you guys can like, you know, share the screens and we could just do this one by one?
Oh, I'm already in it. I'm recording.
All right, so I guess everyone else.
Yeah, I'm recording now, so I'm gonna go in.
Yeah, are you able to like share your screen?
Yeah, I can share my screen with you.
Okay, cool.
Alright, go live.
All right, let's take a look. All right, so whenever you're ready, I'm looking at it right now. But yeah, this is like your last challenge of the beginning. Obviously, there's not much you could have learned from this time, but like it gives you a general idea as to how everything works. So since you have Machionis, you do happen to have a like little buff, like a will buff. I usually always go with that first. And then for everyone else, you could just position them around. And for Bonnie Ann, you could position her so she can use her scatter blast kind of thing. That way more enemies have less dodge. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to position that, but for now, what you're doing is just fine. The most important thing, typically, when you do combat, is always go for buffing first, and then go for the offensive. So it's always typically the formula of buy yourself as much time as possible before the enemies get to you, buff up, and then just go straight for the offensive. And that's typically how you want to do, I would say, 90% of the pirate combat. And yeah, typically for gunnery like that, you can honestly use it how you were trying to use it before, which is like on the bottom side. So you can take out one enemy, do enough damage to the other. You know, it works just fine. And really the objective here is just try to lower the amount of enemies as much as possible. And once you can do that, you're pretty much set. Emmett's a really good companion. It's like one of my favorite like secondary companions that you get. I would say he's probably the best one, if I'm not mistaken.
One of.
He has a I would argue maybe the best because he could basically do everything for you, except be very offensive. But like that's not the important part. Most privateer companions are more like on the supportive side. Except for like Lucky Jack Russell. Oh, so you have Peter, so he also gives you a buff, like a buff. So typically, before you charge in, you probably do want to do the buff first and just wait for the enemies to come to you, just like any combat. It's always about buying yourself as much time as possible while buffing, and then go for the offensive. Peter's buff is very useful.
So Peter,
yeah, the little Kraken coils, that's a buff. It buffs your strength. Bonnie Ann, you can use her Scatter Blast, which is the power with her face on it.
And use it.
And then hit downward.
Oh, here.
yeah, try to use that as much enemies as possible. And then Kobe, honestly, if you want to go for the offensive, go ahead. Because they have lower dodge now because of it. And you can also charge in as well. Yeah, you can charge in to back up Kobe.
Oh, I did the wrong one then.
Oh, that's fine. No, but I was basically just saying to attack. Charging would have been probably better because you get the guarantee hit, and you probably would have been able to kill. But it looks like Bonnie took care of it anyway, so you're fine. But yeah, those scatter blasts could be very useful so that the enemies have a less likelihood to dodge from your, you know, melee attacks and just any attacks in general. Will make the fight a lot faster for you. And easier, arguably. But yeah, you can use your charge again. Just click on the power.
Any of them? Oh, wait, oh, my
No,
character.
go you. Yeah, click on your thing and then go there. Yeah, there you go. Perfect.
So are these each round you can do, like, or each battle you get to do at once?
Yes, that is exactly correct. You can only do it like once per battle. And you'll always get more, but you'll only get like around once per battle. Are there like any other questions that you may want to ask before I end this off?
I think this, for me, that's honestly, I learned a lot. I learned actually like way more like than I thought, because I'd played a little bit before, but like there was a ton of stuff I just had no clue about. So
yeah, it's rough to explain because like a lot of it kind of just stems from you just gotta experience the game.
My second time playing Pirate, and it helped a lot.
You feel a little
Gotcha.
more comfortable?
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. Are you planning to maybe like continue on Buccaneer, or do you think you may want to like, you know, do a different class?
I don't know. I have this Buccaneer, and then I have a Privateer that's level 8. So I mean, it's not that much farther ahead. Because
Yeah, you don't get like a full or like a average experience for the class yet until like later on, but I understand. How about you two, Storm and Zayfa? Do you think you may want to switch your class, or like do you just want to continue like sometime in the future and see how it goes?
I feel
Well-
like for Witch Doctor at least, I mean like I think like you said there may be some limitations later, but it's definitely, I played a Swashbuckler before, which is more like up, you know, like sneaking and then like melee. So it is cool having more of like almost like it's almost like the wizard play style in Pirate.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. And then you, Storm?
No, I'm good. I actually have a level 68 Swash.
Mm-hmm.
So I know most of the mechanics of the game. I just haven't played Privateer, so I have
Yeah.
absolutely no feel for what Privateer is like.
It's a little bit of a slower play style, but it is, once you actually get a decent experience within your first time, like it's fine to pick like a Privateer. You know, it's actually more fun in a team-based setting, in my opinion. That's when like Privateer becomes the most fun, is on team-based settings. As for like Witch Doctor, really, it's fun. Like I have a max Witch Doctor. I had a lot of fun, you know, playing it. So even despite its shortcomings, it's still a fun class nevertheless. Like you can make it work. And Buccaneer is just fun out the gate. Like you would not regret picking Buccaneer. It's just so much fun. But with that being said, I will be leaving off the video here. Again, thank you to HJJ, Zayfa, and Storm for, you know, joining me and learning their very first pirate experiences. Unfortunately, there isn't really much you can learn from the beginning, but at least they have a little bit of a grasp as to how the basics of pirate tends to work. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and turn on your bell notifications for any kind of content Pirate101 will fit in the future. And always remember to stay frenzied. Peace.